They'll keep talking about the accidents, and that's why you end up raising medians. The study here from Texas Transport Institute doesn't say the same thing. Furthermore, you're going to end up widening this thing to 3 lanes wide in the middle. So it seems like that alone increases safety and doesn't cause problems. But then as I drive around the area, and I'm on Precinct Line, which is 6 lanes with a continuous turn lane, and I notice Davis has the same thing, and I don't see accidents over there. The 370 accidents you talk about over 5 years, there's no real data to know how much that is left-hand turn, so left turn lanes, and we're buried at the capacity even now, and the projections are going less. So why are we even doing all this? Why? It's not we're just doing a lot of money, spending a lot of money, and have less access to our businesses, 2 more years of construction fatigue. It doesn't make sense to me why we're doing this. Why don't we save our money and pay cash later? Or why don't you just add those extra lanes and keep all 6 lanes that we got now and save some money that way? There's several options that maybe y'all thought about, we just haven't heard about, and I'd like to hear more about those. Thank you.
We're not interested in building the project unless we improve safety. All the data that we have supports that the median section is safer. The 2 facilities that you talked about, there are increased accidents on those facilities, and we regret not putting medians in on those 2 facilities. But we also aren't going to build a project if the city doesn't want the project. So that is an option.
That's my biggest deal right now is how are we going to justify putting turn lanes and medians down 26 when we are going to be blocking off some of our cherished businesses? It's going to put them into a strain if there's curbs and just disingenuous turn lanes throughout the 26 corridor. These guys deserve an open turn throughout the whole thing. I mean, if you don't, you're going to run these mom and pop businesses out of here. And it has been said in city council several times that we know there's going to be a strain on them and there's going to be some that fall. I don't like that option. I think our businesses are important to our city, and it becomes more viable for us to keep our businesses than a median throughout the middle. And my last question is this, is why is it that Bedford and Hearst have already told you, no, they don't want to do this already? So we already know there's not going to be another phase with those guys. Why have they already told you no?
I don't know why Hearst and Bedford told us no. And again, an option is not to build anything.
We came to Hollywood as a destination restaurant. That's the way we sold the business. That's the way the business was embraced. A lot of our business came from South Lake. It came from Grapevine. It came even from Trophy Club in Kelly. That's fine. When the road construction began in 2012, we saw that aspect of our business drop off significantly to the tune of 30%. We had a lot of our friends and customers say, we just don't come here, it's too hard. It's too hard to get here. Now, what is being proposed is that we're going to take the difficulty that we've been facing all these years, 3 years, on the north side, and we're going to put it in our central business district. How are we going to survive any of this? It doesn't matter if it's just, and I'm not just talking about my business next. I'm talking about Market Street, Whole Foods, the church, everybody. How are we all going to be impacted? And more importantly, maybe not more importantly, how is that going to impact the sales tax revenue that this city receives? Because this will be a pretty significant impact to that. And somewhere that money's going to come.
So we don't debate that there will be impacts during construction. We'll do everything we can if we build this project to minimize those impacts, but there will be impacts during construction. There's no way around that. No matter what we build, there'll be impacts during construction.
I'm Hager. I live in Villas at Oak Point. We've been there for 5 years. We were told when we moved there that probably it would take a couple of years to get our intersection and where we could get in and out of our neighborhood. It's been 5 long years. Money was finally found and we were excited. And then all of a sudden we found that it had been taken away from us. And that it's going to be years before we have that intersection or that light. Just a light would help us. There have been many accidents there. many near accidents. And I'm begging you to take action and at least give us a light.
Ma'am, you didn't ask the question, but I will respond. We are very much aware of the importance of improving that intersection. One of the things that we really want to get tonight is input from all of you people in attendance, so to help the council make a decision as to how the citizens of Colleyville would prefer that section of the project be funded. That's one of our objectives tonight, so please tell us option, pass-through option, the turn-back option, or if you have a better idea, don't hesitate to suggest that as well.
Having lived in Colleyville since the early 80s, I understand all these businesses, and I don't own a business here, so I can't say that I would be impacted or not. But I can look at Southland, and I can look at other areas around here that have developed their infrastructure of the highways. Their businesses are great. We can't even hardly, I appreciate Next and I love Next, but we can't even hardly keep a restaurant in Colleyville, as evidenced by numerous restaurants that come in and go away. Did anyone ever consider this because no one can get through here? And if you are here, then you get to go in a suicide lane where you get to have a head-on going into Market Street.
My question is, what is the process that you go through to determine when you are going to put in one of those left turn access points? And if there is an appeals process for that, what does that look like so that we can be informed and know what we need to do to appeal those decisions?
The process we go through is very similar to the process that we go through when approving driveway cuts. It's a safety process, safety to the operation of the roadway. We try to work very closely with our city partners on where those median cuts go. Again, as I said earlier, it's really not a done deal until they're built. So we need to have those conversations between now and then. It's easy to change it on a piece of paper. It's difficult to change it once it's built.
But to me, we need a little bit of reprioritization, because to me, what is most dangerous is what should be our highest priority. And I really believe that Highway 26, Tinker, and Oak Point intersection is really our most dangerous spot in the town. I really think that needs to be addressed first. I love the idea of the concrete streets. I understand why there's a whole lot of pushback from medians. As the mom of several teenagers, I know that we have, bought curbs and had to replace a lot of tires. So really, the medians may not be as safe. I'd be interested in seeing those studies and how they came up with the idea that the medians were safer. But if you could take the money from the medians, go ahead and do the concrete streets, take the money from the medians and put it in the Hall Johnson to John McCain section. And that way it would be more easily, I think, more readily funded. And do that Tinker Highway 26 intersection first instead of last.
Thank you very much. It was made earlier that if the city of Colleyville doesn't want the roads, they won't be built. We won't build them. So my question as an Oak Point resident is, if that option takes place, will we get a safe light to come in and out of our neighborhood safely, as was in the plans when we in good faith purchased our homes?
If the city chooses not to do this upgrade to the roadway, that doesn't alleviate our responsibility to provide a safe route. So we'll have to look at that intersection and see how we make it safe without the construction.
I see a lot of comments about prioritization. I agree with that. Oak Point does have a problem intersection, so why don't we take the part of the south part of the city, which is not really much of an issue, and put that funding up north and bring that traffic through Colleyville and get them to our businesses, and leave the part of the south part alone until we have more money later, because it's not going to be an issue down there. You save the money, that bridge down there is constructed, it's not your money could be used better up north than south. And as far as prioritization, someone mentioned getting to the medians, I like that, but we spend a lot of money on sidewalks too, that we could also use that money elsewhere. But I know we've got this South Lake Envy thing going apparently here, and it seriously seems to resonate with all the meetings I go to.
Again, TechStop is not building a project without raised medians.
Yeah, I'm Elizabeth Zyland, and I've lived in Colleyville for about 7 years now. And at the end of the day, it looks like under the current Phase 3 project, we would be going from a 4-lane road to a 4-lane road with a large median in the center of it. And I'm just wondering if we're going to have to go back 10 to 12 years after we've done this reconstruction and do it all over again, what is the benefit, what's the cost savings of doing that versus how much we're going to be hurting those businesses that are all along that corridor?
What's the benefit of doing 4 lanes now, having to come back later and add the 2 lanes later?
And having to take out that center section of median, I guess we would keep a little bit in there so that you would still have the median that you require, but what's the benefit of that?
Well, the benefit of it is that we can stretch the funding further to get more intersections improved. That was the goal for going from 6 lanes to 4 lanes. Because the main congestion problems right now are in the intersections. So we get more intersections improved further south. The benefit of building, like Bob said earlier, the 4 lanes being the 4 outside lanes, is that the future construction will be very unimpactful because we're just adding a lane in the middle, so there's no impact to access or intersections or things like that.
In fact, when I bought my property on 26, almost 20 years ago now, I went to the city with the site plan. They required that I dedicate the property to allow the expansion of the road at that time. So this has been anticipated for at least that long. And because of that, I was prepared that, okay, when this happens, that's going to be an issue for my business. And during that time, of course, we've seen road construction projects occur in South Lake and Grapevine and North Richland Hills, and there's no doubt that during that process, those businesses were affected. But afterwards, those areas are thriving. We see that on South Lake Boulevard, on Northwest Highway, and Grapevine, and whatnot. And I think that that's something that in the long run definitely benefits the city.
This is a project about the safety of the citizens. Instead of a beautification project, we might want to look at where we were before.
The new highways. That's first off. I just wanted to share that with you, from my perspective anyway. The other thing is if we finish this project with the new 4 lanes, do you anticipate that the traffic is going to move quicker? Because I don't see it moving quicker because you're still going to have the stop lights, which is what stops the traffic because of the cross flow. So I don't see that anything's going to move faster because this project is done. Is that true?
It'll move faster because of the added capacity of the intersections.
You had a traffic study that had the A, B's, and C's, and D's that are on it on another meeting that some of us have made. And if you remember that, some of our roads had A's, B's, C's, but as you did the improvements, we went to D's and F's on a lot of spots after you did your improvements. Is that not correct?
Yeah, and I think you need to hear Cobb's explanation of those before we take that out of context.
It's your rating. Your rating. Why didn't you rate it as Cox?
It wasn't my rating.
So they just made it and gave it to the state, said, here, run with it. You guys did to present it to the public, and that's how we were supposed to receive it.
Cobb presented it to the public.
You were there.
I was there, but I didn't present it. Cobb
Why didn't you go back and say, hey, you know what, this isn't really right?
Because I think they were correct.
So the F's were correct, and the E's.
You need to hear the full explanation of, sometimes it's beneficial to improve certain movements. If you had an F on a certain movement, but the whole interchange rated as a C, it makes sense to improve that movement to get a full intersection of an E. That was his explanation.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We're going from an A, B, C to a D, E, and an F with your improvements, as it was presented to us before.
Yeah, we need to look at that data.